So in a way, the PEV is pushing smart grid in a way. I mean, you can say that that adoption is going to force everyone to have a smarter grid, as you were saying, as in terms of transmission reliability and things like that, but also just on that distribution level.
Yeah, we'll call the question. And then on the charging station issue, there are definitely a lot of policy questions on that. But in terms of 40 to 50% of vehicles don't have a dedicated garage. And so that's a big issue, and certainly it's very different in New York City than it would be in suburban Dallas. So that's a very different equation, and one needs to tailor it to those expectations. You'll see some Portland is doing some good things, British Columbia good things in terms of installation of meters proactively. But it depends on, again, it comes back to the battery technology. I think someone at Ford said yesterday, it's always been about batteries, as will be. And I think in electric vehicles, I mean, the first vehicles were electric, and the Model T was electric at one point, as she said yesterday. So I think it's important to see that it is a good solution. But utilities have to get, where do they want to play in that overall equation? And I think there is a downside to utilities if someone else does that, if someone with a different economic model.
What's the downside?
In terms of planning, overall capital allocation and planning and the circuit level reliability, if someone else can make those type of installations and to some degree in an uncontrolled way install that would be a big issue. And what are the local policy issues about prohibiting somebody from installing charging stations where they want to install them? That's definitely an issue. I think there are also things we're exploring with some utilities on taxing. I mean, gasoline has a lot of taxes embedded in it. Yes, and in some states, electricity does as well. But you look at will some states and local communities want to tax the charging station differently than that, and because it can make up for the loss in tax revenue. So, and other implications around charging, just one that comes to mind. We really talk about the fact that if you look at just a dollar equivalent, looking at the pump versus recharging, or what I see in terms of charging my vehicle, you're 60–80% savings. So what kind of disincentive does a utility have to provide, or incentive, to off-peak charging to really make a difference? And you see some of that in smart grid and AMI decisions and all the things that are coming up in a number of aspects. What type of incentives or disincentives will really work? And then how much has to be moved into the software versus being automated?
Well, the whole meeting today, the whole meeting the last couple of days has been about technology and information technology and Microsoft. All that data that's going to have to go into making PEVs work. It's an enormous leap. It isn't just people plugging in.
But it can be, and that's one of the things we struggle with, which is that there are some business models out there that have a dedicated connection for an electric vehicle, but you can always, if the prices get too far out of alignment, there's always a 110 outlet. And that's what I started with when my car showed up. That was the only one that I had before I put in the larger charger. It works. It's slow, but it certainly works. And if capacitors or better battery technology comes along, it's not the full recharge time. People keep on talking about how long does it take to recharge from empty, but really it's topping off. It's a continual topping off process. And that timing is not nearly as difficult. So it is possible with 110 or just other circuits. So one has to be careful in terms of policy not to create incentives for people to go around the system as well.
So do you commute?
Well, I'm consulting, so I'm usually flying more than driving.
Oh, so you don't get a chance to drive.
Take the train and all that. It's more of a certainly a hobby vehicle, of course. Not a lot of space for groceries. But I would say that the issue with I think Tesla's evolution overall, if you look at the Model S, and it is a phenomenal car to drive, the concept of having, not promoting Tesla versus other manufacturers, and people are all doing a good job. I think the issue is that when you design a pure EV, at least in the Model S, the batteries are low and in the center, and it provides this huge canopy of space. Trunk in the center, the front, trunk in the back, and 7 passengers, even though 2 are rear-facing in the center. And it works. It's very spacious, very quiet, and fast acceleration, 5 seconds, not 3. But it's still very good. So I think those things will be quite positive, and the evolution will happen quite quickly.
I was reading something that there's a company that's creating motor noises for electric vehicles, so that if you want to make it sound like a Ferrari, you can. And that there's a reason for that, because they're quiet and people's people listen to cars in different ways. People cross the street in different ways because they know a car is coming or not.
Because my neighbors have said you don't hear it coming. And the only thing you hear, the loudest noise is typically the cooling of the battery. Right. You're driving for a while. But it does sound like, if you've been in a golf cart, it just sounds like that and more. But you're right, there are some safety issues. There are a lot of implementation issues that haven't been considered, and we've only talked about a few of those. But it's not people don't like filling up with gasoline. I don't know anybody who particularly enjoys that experience. So it's easy to assume that they will prefer this model, and they'll innovate around that. And how do you make it enough of an open standard where those type of add-ons are possible?
Right.
And the other thing I've realized, and again, not being a car person at all, in terms of having a Tesla, is the emotional attachment people have to this, and it will be to other EVs as well.
Right.
And so I don't know if, from a utility situation, typically we're fairly dispassionate about the technologies that are in use. There is a real passion around that, and there's a better quality. I think you can see the same thing with LED lighting potentially. It could be better quality and a better technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have that combination, from a strategic planning standpoint, you shouldn't underestimate the power of that in the market.
Okay. Well, great, Bob. Thanks for coming by and talking electric vehicles with me. And I'm going to come over to your house and take a ride in your Tesla.
Please do. I'm trying to show it to as many people as possible. I hope everybody who are watching this can get a ride as well. So
okay, great. Well, thanks, Bob. I'm Eric Blume. Thanks very much.